Am I the asshole for putting dinner away and playing video games after my girlfriend came home drunk? I'd been looking forward to this night all week. My girlfriend and I, both in our late 20s, had been living together in our Chicago apartment for 6 months. Work had been a grind and life was hectic, so I planned a cozy dinner for us. Nothing fancy, just homemade pasta and some chill time. We talked about it all weekend, and I was pumped to finally relax together. She's the outgoing one, always flitting from one social event to another, while I'm more of a homebody. That morning, she had brunch with her friends at 11, and I figured she'd be back by late afternoon, maybe a little tipsy from a mimosa or two. Dinner was set for 6:30, and I started cooking around 5, expecting her to stroll in soon. But brunch turned into a full-on bar crawl. By 1, she texted me about hitting another bar. Then another. Her messages got sloppier, and by 5:30, her Snapchat story showed her doing shots in a bar across the city. I didn't want to be that boyfriend, nagging her to come home, but I was annoyed. This was supposed to be our night. I held off as long as I could, but by 6:30, she was still nowhere near home. Her location showed her at yet another bar, and I was done waiting. I ate my plate of pasta, packed the rest in the fridge, and fired up the PlayStation to game with my buddies. If she couldn't stick to our plan, I wasn't going to sit around moping. She stumbled in around 7:15, clearly hammered. Her eyes were glassy, and she had that giggly, unsteady vibe. "What the heck are you doing?" she slurred, looking around like she expected a candlelit dinner still waiting. I told her dinner was done, the food was in the fridge, and she could heat it up if she wanted. She gave me this half-laughing apology, something about how, you never know what happens when the girl gang goes to brunch. I wasn't impressed. I told her I had other plans now, meaning my game, and she called me rude before storming off to bed. The next day, she was all passive-aggressive, barely talking, but throwing me these looks. I could tell she was pissed, but I wasn't about to grovel. Later, we talked it out, and she admitted she messed up, apologizing sincerely. But then she hit me with something deeper. She wished I was more outgoing, that I didn't just sit around the apartment all the time. It stung, and it opened a whole new can of worms about our differences. She even mentioned wishing I'd joined her at brunch, though I hadn't been invited until it was already a marathon drinking session. I get that she didn't mean to blow off our plans, but I spent hours cooking and waiting while she partied. It felt disrespectful, like our night didn't matter. Still, her comments about me being too much of a homebody made me wonder if I overreacted by shutting down in gaming instead of talking it out when she got home. I didn't yell or anything, but maybe I came off colder than I meant to. And yeah, she DoorDashed Taco Bell, saying my pasta didn't look good, which didn't help my mood. We're mostly okay now, but this tension about our lifestyles, her social butterfly vibes versus my preference for quiet nights, is still lingering. It's like we're on different wavelengths sometimes, and I'm not sure how to bridge that gap without one of us bending too far. Am I the asshole for putting dinner away and gaming instead of waiting for her? Am I the asshole for wanting to bring dinner for my postpartum sister-in-law despite my husband's objections? My brother's wife just had a baby, and my husband and I, both in our mid-30s, were thrilled to plan a visit to meet the newest addition to the family. We live about 40 minutes away from their place, so it's not a quick trip, and we like to make these visits count. With a new baby in the house, I figured my brother and his wife were probably exhausted, juggling feedings, diapers, and their other kids. So I suggested to my husband that we bring dinner for them when we go. It seemed like a no-brainer, a nice gesture to take one thing off their plate. We could pick up something hearty, like a big lasagna or takeout from their favorite spot, and all they'd need to do is sit and eat. I even offered to handle serving and cleanup afterwards so they wouldn't have to lift a finger. To me, it was a practical way to show we care, especially since we'd likely be there into the evening. But my husband wasn't on board. He thought bringing food was fine, but it absolutely shouldn't be dinner. His reasoning? We should leave before dinner time to avoid being a burden. This threw me for a loop. I pictured us arriving in the afternoon, cooing over the baby, catching up, and then sharing a meal to make the visit feel warm and connected. His plan would cut our time short, rushing us out the door before the evening even started. He argued that bringing dinner and eating with them would be an imposition, like we were forcing ourselves into their space. I couldn't wrap my head around it. How could offering to feed everyone, especially when we're doing all the work, be rude? My brother's family isn't formal. They'd probably appreciate not having to cook or order out themselves. I tried to talk it through with him, but he dug in, saying it's just not proper to assume they'd want us there for a meal. He's neurodivergent, which sometimes shapes how he sees social situations, so I wondered if this was him overthinking etiquette in a way I wasn't getting. Still, I pushed back, explaining that my brother and his wife would likely be grateful for the gesture. New parents are overwhelmed, and a free meal with family feels like love, not a burden. He countered that we could drop off food earlier in the day, like snacks or a lunch dish, and still be considerate without overstaying. I get his point about not wanting to intrude, but I think he's overcomplicating it. My brother's family has always been laid back, and I've brought food for casual hangouts before without anyone batting an eye. The disagreement left me second-guessing. Maybe I'm not seeing some unspoken rule about visiting new parents. I started wondering if my husband's right and I'm pushing too hard for what I think is a kind gesture. But every time I imagine showing up with a steaming casserole, I can't help but think it'd be a hit. Something to make their day easier and our visit more meaningful. We'd be there to celebrate their new baby, not to add stress. Still, his insistence that it's rude has me questioning whether I'm missing something cultural or social that he's picking up on. I want the visit to feel good for everyone, but now I'm stuck on whether to push for the dinner idea or just go along with his plan to keep the peace. Am I the asshole for thinking we should bring dinner and stay to eat with them? Am I the asshole for asking my ex-husband's mother to stay away from my children? My ex-husband and I were together for 8 years, blending our family with his 2 daughters and my 2 sons, whom he adopted. It wasn't always smooth, especially with his ex-wife, who wasn't thrilled about me bonding with her daughters. I got it. Her kids gravitated toward me and that stung her. I tried to encourage their relationship with her, even when she was absent for stretches. But the real thorn was my ex's mother. From the start, she had it out for me. When we first got together, I pushed him to be independent, stop relying on her to do his laundry or watch his kids while he slacked off. She saw that as me stealing her son, and her resentment never faded. Fast forward, we split up, and now she's best buddies with his ex-wife, which complicates things further. The issue exploded recently. My kids, especially my 13-year-old son with a rare tumor disorder, have been through a lot. He deals with chronic pain, and we've been navigating his diagnosis and treatment carefully. But my ex's mother crossed a line. She's been bad-mouthing me to my kids whenever she sees them, and it's not just petty jabs. A couple of weeks ago, my stepdaughter called me in tears saying Meme was spewing venom. Apparently, she told my son I was lying about his medical condition, claiming I was making it up and shouldn't even be around my own kids. That hit hard. My son was already struggling, and now he's hearing this garbage from someone he's supposed to trust. My stepdaughter was equally upset, caught in the middle of this toxicity. I tried to handle it like an adult. I called her, hoping to set boundaries and understand why she'd say such things. She shut me down, accusing me of being a compulsive liar and saying she didn't care about my side. I told her I wouldn't let my kids be exposed to her verbal attacks anymore. She fired back that because my ex is their dad and pays child support, she has a right to see them and say whatever she wants. That was it for me. After 10 years of dealing with her hostility, I put my foot down. I asked my ex to keep her away from my kids. I hated doing it. She's their grandmother, technically family, but her words made 2 of my children cry. That's not okay. I'm torn though. My kids have been through enough with the divorce and my son's health issues. Protecting them feels like my job, but cutting off their grandmother feels drastic. What if my ex ignores my request and lets her see them anyway? I can't control what happens at his place, and that scares me. She's not just critical. She's actively trying to turn my kids against me, undermining something as serious as my son's illness. I've dealt with her shade for years, biting my tongue to keep the peace, but this feels different. Still, I wonder if I'm being too harsh. Family ties matter, and maybe I should have tried harder to reason with her before escalating to this point. But when someone makes your kids cry, how many chances do you give them? I just want my children to feel safe and loved, not caught in some vendetta. Am I the asshole for asking my ex-husband to keep his mom away from my kids? Am I the asshole for apologizing to the server for my husband's behavior and not backing him? We were on day 2 of a beach vacation, just trying to have a nice dinner on the boardwalk with our toddler in tow. It was already 9 p.m., and our little one was a ticking time bomb, ready to melt down any second. The restaurant wasn't packed, which gave us hope for a quick meal, but things went south fast. We sat for a good 15 minutes before anyone approached us, and I could feel my husband's patience thinning. He's a big guy with a deep voice, and when he's annoyed, it shows, even if he's not yelling. I was frustrated too, but I kept it together, hoping to keep the night salvageable for our kids' sake. When our server, a young woman in her 20s, finally came over, she took our drink and food orders. Then she made a mistake, charged my husband extra for his beer, missing a $2 special. She caught it, apologized, and asked if he wanted it fixed. We were both stunned by the question. Who wouldn't want the right price? He tried to lighten the mood, joking about a free beer, but she just laughed it off and fixed the charge. No big deal, or so I thought. Then our food arrived. My husband's entree was lukewarm, but the vegetables? Ice cold, like they had been pulled straight from the fridge. It was a sloppy mistake, no question, and he was pissed. He kept telling the server to feel the food, feel it, to prove how cold it was. I could see her getting uncomfortable, shrinking under his insistence. He wasn't shouting, but his tone and size made the vibe intense, like things could escalate. I tried to diffuse it, telling her she didn't need to touch the vegetables. It wasn't her fault the kitchen screwed up, but my husband wouldn't let it go. He started saying we shouldn't pay for anything, repeating how unacceptable it was. The server offered a replacement meal, but he refused, doubling down on his complaint and even bringing up the beer mix-up again. I was mortified. This wasn't some fine dining disaster, it was cold veggies and a $2 overcharge. His demeanor felt over the top, and I could tell the server was rattled. She looked close to tears, and I felt awful for her. She might have been new or just having an off night, but she didn't deserve this. I stepped in, apologized to her, and said we'd pay for everything else and leave. I didn't agree with my husband's push for a free meal. It felt entitled and unfair to her. I grabbed our toddler and started walking down the boardwalk, leaving him to handle the beach wagon. He caught up a few minutes later, fuming that I wasn't on his side. He thought I was too soft, saying we should have pushed harder for a comped meal given the bad service and cold food. I get that the experience sucked, but his reaction embarrassed me, and I was mad he made the server cry. He didn't feel bad about it, which only made it worse. I keep wondering if I should have backed him to present a united front, but his behavior crossed a line for me. I wanted to protect our kid from a scene and show the server some basic kindness. Now he's upset, saying I undermined him, and I'm questioning if I handled it wrong by walking away and not supporting his stance. Am I the asshole for apologizing to the server and not siding with my husband? Am I the asshole for making my sister pay me back for throwing out my daughter's bra? We're currently hosting my sister Judy and her 2 young sons in our home after Hurricane Helene damaged their place. It's been a stressful time, and we set clear rules to keep things civil. Respect our space, stay out of my daughter Thea's room, and leave once repairs are done. Thea, my teenage daughter, is a theater kid, starring as Viola in her school's production of Twelfth Night. She's passionate, responsible, and even buys her own gear, including a $50 compression bra she uses to flatten her chest for certain roles, like playing a boy or young girl. It's a practical piece of her costume, not some controversial item, but it became a problem when Judy's boys, ages 8 and 6, broke our rules. The boys snuck into Thea's room and trashed it, clothes strewn on the floor, perfume spilled, and her display of old Disney dolls knocked around. Worse, they got hold of her compression bra. Judy found them messing with it, assumed it was something inappropriate, like a different kind of binder, and threw it out without asking. We didn't realize until Thea was packing for play practice and couldn't find it. She was devastated. That bra wasn't just expensive, it was essential for her performance. I was furious. Judy's boys had no business in Thea's room, and her snap judgment to toss something she didn't understand crossed a line. I told her she needed to replace it. No excuses. $50 isn't pocket change for Thea, who works hard for her theater stuff. Judy pushed back hard. She's a single mom struggling financially after the hurricane and said it was unfair to demand money from a homeless woman. She even argued the bra wasn't appropriate for Thea, which baffled me, since when is theater gear scandalous? Our mom got involved, taking Judy's side, saying we're too harsh given her situation. But I'm not asking for a fortune, just for Thea's property to be replaced. Judy's boys caused the damage, and she made it worse by throwing the bra out. I get that she's stressed, but that doesn't justify disregarding our home or Thea's belongings. To me, it's about accountability, not punishment. This isn't the first issue. The boys also messed with my husband's stuff in his man cave, so we've had to install locks on Thea's room, our son's room, and his space. I've always opened my home to family during tough times, like past hurricanes, without problems. I was raised to help, especially kin, but this experience has me rethinking boundaries. Judy's attitude, like her boys were just being boys, feels dismissive, and I'm at my limit. We're now planning to ask them to find somewhere else to stay, which I hate doing, but enough is enough. My husband's coming home soon, and we might need a friend for backup if things get heated. I feel for Judy's situation, but Thea shouldn't pay the price for her kids' actions or Judy's assumptions. Still, I wonder if I'm being too rigid, especially with Mom saying I should cut her some slack. Should I let it go to keep the peace, or is standing firm fair? Am I the asshole for insisting my sister pay to replace Thea's bra? Am I the asshole for making my husband get our 3-year-old to sleep after he promised she could stay up late? We have 2 daughters, ages 2 and 3, and life with them is a whirlwind, especially with our 3-year-old who's suspected to have autism. We're still waiting on her evaluation, but the signs are there. Routine is her anchor, and disruptions hit her hard. She was also battling pink eye, which already had her out of preschool and off-kilter. Last night at dinner, my husband, in a burst of enthusiasm, promised her she could stay up late until 9 p.m. instead of her usual 7:30 bedtime. I raised an eyebrow and asked him to clarify how late, because I could see this going sideways. When he confirmed 9, I told him flat out, if he's making that call, he's handling the fallout. I wasn't about to deal with the chaos of a thrown-off toddler. I stuck to my guns, getting our 2-year-old to bed while he played with our older daughter. Things started unraveling around 8 p.m. when the tantrums kicked in. She was overtired, cranky, and miserable, and I could hear it from the kitchen as I cleaned up. By 8:45, he was struggling to get her through a bath, and she was full-on melting down, screaming, and thrashing. He tried to calm her, but it was a losing battle. By 9:45, he caved, giving her the pacifier we've been trying to wean her off and bringing her to our bed. She finally crashed at 10, utterly exhausted. Afterward, he turned to me, frustrated, saying he was upset I left him to handle it alone, especially knowing how tough it was. He felt I should have stepped in to help, autism or not. I reminded him that he made the promise, not me. I warned him that breaking her routine, especially by an hour and a half, was a recipe for disaster, particularly with her needs. Routine is everything for her. Bedtime at 7:30 keeps her stable, and pushing it to 9 was asking for trouble, pink eye or not. I wasn't trying to be cold, I was just sticking to what we know works. Plus, I was busy with our younger daughter and the post-dinner cleanup. He argued that parenting is a team effort and I should have jumped in when I saw them struggling. I get that, it's not like I enjoyed hearing her cry, but I felt he needed to own the consequences of his decision. If I bailed him out, what's to stop him from making impulsive promises again? Still, I'm second-guessing myself. Maybe I was too harsh, letting him flounder alone. He's a great dad, and I know he didn't mean to make things harder for her or us, but I also think he underestimated how much her autism, or whatever's going on, affects her ability to handle change. The pacifier and co-sleeping were last resorts, and I worry we're backsliding on progress we've made. He's mad I didn't have his back, and I'm wondering if I should have compromised, maybe helped with the bath or soothed her when things got rough. It's tough balancing fairness with sticking to principles, especially when our daughter's needs are so specific. We're both stretched thin, and I don't want this to turn into a bigger fight. But I can't shake the feeling that he needed to see why routine matters so much for her. Am I the asshole for not helping him get her to sleep?